Well, hello everyone. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. It is good to be back with you guys here today. So, my friends, I've been thinking recently that Joe Biden, I've been contemplating the nature of the presidency. And naturally, that has led me to think about the current president, Joe Biden. Joe Biden, a week or so ago, made a very atrocious remark about the Uyghurs during a CNN town hall. And of course, this is old news. But the point I'm going to make with this is not old at all. In fact, it's quite universal and can be applied to many different presidents across all circumstances. Joe Biden, this man right here, this old man right here, he essentially said that when talking about what was happening in the Xinjiang regions of China, where the Uyghurs are currently being systematically genocided and sterilized by the Communist Chinese Party, he called that a different norm. Even though his own State Department, as this article mentions, has condemned the atrocities. And he has said that in the spirit of diplomacy, essentially, he's talked to Xi, and they are focused on maintaining a united, tightly controlled China. So, this got me to thinking, how can we evaluate the presidency and their moral conclusions? And the moral conclusions of his actors, so to speak. Because the presidency itself, I contend, and I will contend throughout this video, is a moral position. It is a position that manifests through the confirmation of morals. And therefore, there are certain moral beliefs that the President of the United States must hold. Or else, his capacity as the President is fundamentally illegitimate. So essentially, my friends, we should not understand the presidency merely as a political position, but as a position of a moral actor. Not just because the President has access to institutions and to the use of force, which compels certain people, or should compel someone if they're following the right ethical paradigm, to believe and follow certain guidelines, but because the presidency himself, as I mentioned, occupies a space, a sacred hallowed space, a sacred hallowed position, which formulates from divine principles. What do I mean? So, let us first understand the presidency as it was defined in Article 2 of the Constitution of the United States. Article 2 mentions a bunch of things the president, as you can see here, is supposed to do. For a term of 4 years, things of that sort, appoints people. But at the very bottom of Article 2, Section 1, it says, before he enter, the president, on the execution of his office, he shall take the following oath or affirmation. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, my friends. What does that mean? My friends, we have to understand principles as they are defined in the Constitution, since the Constitution is the object of the President's authority. The Constitution is the object of the President's power. The Constitution is the object by which the President derives their legitimacy and their guidelines from. But guess what? It's not just the Constitution that matters. Principles, my friends, exist beyond the Constitution. In fact, the Constitution simply codifies principles. It is a great compilation of principles. The greatest hit, so to speak, of our humanity. That's what the Constitution is. Now, of course, there are some principles in the Constitution that do not really reflect the Constitution's own foundation, such as taxation. But we'll get there in a moment. So, if principles exist beyond the Constitution, and the Constitution but the Constitution codifies them, and itself is founded on principles, and Joe Biden gets his power from the Constitution, then we should understand what principles he represents vis-a-vis the Constitution. So if the presidency, let's go with metaphor. The presidency is like a tree, right? It's like a tree. And the Constitution is its principles. And those principles are like the roots of the tree. The presidency should be understood in relation to its roots. Because a tree cannot live without its roots. So, this is fundamentally an entirely descriptive understanding of the presidency, not prescriptive. Because guess what? I'm not making a normative claim here. I'm not saying the presidency should be this way. I'm saying it is this way. There are certain moral constants in the universe, and it's quite clear, as we can verify by empirical evidence, that this is what the presidency is meant to be. And in the preamble of the Constitution, which further establishes its position as a declaration of principles, says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States." So that's proof right there. The Constitution is the outgrowth of principles. And before this, you had the Declaration of Independence, which itself is a compilation of principles. And in the first few lines of the Declaration, I'll read it for you right here, Thomas Jefferson's quite clear about what he's talking about. Jefferson says, in the first few lines of the Constitution, and of the Declaration, he says that he says that, that when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume the powers of the earth and the separate and equal station to which laws of nature and of nature's gods entitle them. So it goes Declaration, Preamble, Constitution, President. The President is the conclusion of all of these different declarations of principles manifesting and relationally acting with each other. So this is entirely descriptive. This is not me saying, oh, the president needs to be this way. No, this is descriptive. In fact, as Frederick Bastiat says, when prescriptive notions of government go too far, when I say the government needs to do X, Y, and Z, guess what happens? Government becomes inseparable with private interest, and therefore it gets big and it becomes tyrannical. Everyone now has a stake in the government. Everyone does. So one need not believe the principles the presidency is predicated upon to estimate Biden's role in the presidency. You don't have to agree with natural law or natural rights. You don't have to agree with freedom or liberty, but you should understand that the Constitution and therefore the presidency are predicated upon objective moral principles. They are predicated upon objective evaluations of the human being. They are predicated upon universals. They are predicated upon axioms. And part of those axioms is the fact that human beings have rights, certain rights which are inviolable and bequeathed upon them by a source external to them. So guess what? Even if you disagree with that entire moral framework, the presidency is an outgrowth of that and derives its powers from that understanding. Although if you are an American and you claim to believe in principles of the Republic, and you claim to believe in America, you probably are morally inconsistent if you do not believe in these principles. But descriptions, my friends, simply account for how things are, not how they should be. So let us explain how this all connects to Biden not having the moral license to be the president of the United States. For Biden to embrace cultural relativism is to reject set standards, stable standards, consistent standards for the value, the ontological value of the human being, which are endemic and inherent to the proper understanding of the principles that manifest the American experiment. That's number one. And to weigh an individual's life by giving deference to geography or political expediency is to once again completely and utterly snub their rights, and to reject the vision of human life propositioned by the American experiment, propositioned by that fire of Patrick Henry, propositioned by that fire of Thomas Jefferson, proposition in the Bill of Rights that says, no, you cannot do these things, so they are a violation of my conscience and my being. For Joe Biden to say, hey, this is simply a matter of cultural norms, is to himself misunderstand the norm, the normativity of the rules that bind Americans together in that state universal truth about our condition. For that reason, my friends, Joe Biden has absolutely zero legitimacy being president of the United States. And his power right now is rendered impotent because he predicates his entire philosophy on subjective moral musings, when the outgrowth of his position in the philosophy of America are predicated upon eternal objective truths. For that reason, we can't give Biden the moral license to do anything. And this is one of the many reasons why I believe that Biden will go down as one of the worst presidents in American history. Think on it. As always, my friends, I love you, and please stay pensive. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this message, please be sure to support my channel through PayPal. My PayPal is @officialcwatson, as you see on the screen. Any amount helps. Thank you so much, and stay pensive.